All right, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Does everyone have food, water, drinks ready? Does everyone have a handout? I think it says comment card at the top, so you'll definitely want that for some of the activities we're doing tonight. And if you haven't signed in, please do so. We love to track, who's coming to those meetings and how many people we're getting at these meetings as well. So I'll start off with introductions. My name is Hannah Schaefer. I'm an urban planner with Kimley Horn, and I'm joined by a few team members tonight. Nicole Galasso, who's also an urban planner, Jared Schneider, Brett Combs somewhere out here. There he is back there. And then Madison Parker is here as well. So tonight, what we're talking about is the new city master plan. So we're going to go through a brief presentation about 15, 20 minutes, and we're going to ask you some visioning questions, and we're going to go over some of the other activities we're going to do tonight. So we're really trying to gain your feedback here tonight. We're at the beginning process of this plan, so we're just really looking for any ideas, just anything you want to share with us that could help us craft this vision as we're at the beginning part of this plan. And then we'll go over some of the upcoming work that we're doing and some of the next steps in the recent future. So the purpose of this plan is really to provide a guiding document for the city that articulates what the community wants to see in the city in 10, 20 years from now. So we really want to hear from you what your goals are, what your priorities are, what matters to you, so we can craft policies, strategies, and recommendations that can achieve those goals. So tonight we're really just looking to hear any information from you to help us do that. And this plan will replace the early 2000s master plan. So this is a document that will live on for many years. And as I said, we are in the beginning process of this project. So we anticipate this wrapping up in spring of next year. So we're in the beginning stages. Right now we're just looking at some existing conditions data, looking at relevant plans that we might need to include or consider as we're crafting these goals and strategies and recommendations. So you can see this is the first engagement event we have for this project. So there's going to be a lot more events. We're going to have some smaller outreach. We're going to talk to stakeholders, some smaller groups, business owners, and other people who are invested in the city. So we'll have 2 more public workshops similar to this throughout the course of this plan. And I'll turn it over to Nicole to talk a little bit more about what we want to hear from you tonight.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. So the purpose of today's workshop is to hear from you on your vision, your aspirations, your goals for the future of the city of Madeira Beach. And we have these 6 categories up here on the screen that will really be the basis of the master plan. So we want to hear your ideas for improvements, or just completely new ideas that maybe haven't been implemented here in the city before, for new development and redevelopment, transportation, parks, recreation, and public spaces, economic development, sustainability and resiliency, as well as beautification and placemaking. So we're going to walk through some questions related to each of these categories, and you'll also have a chance to write any comments you might have on the handout that you should have picked up from the table on your way in. If you don't have one of those handouts, please raise your hand so we can make sure you have one for the second part of this workshop. So before we dive into the visioning exercise, I wanted to spend a little time talking about how the master plan is going to fit in with all of the other city planning documents that exist for the city. So I'm sure some of you are thinking, we have a comprehensive plan. We just went through a comprehensive plan update. We have our zoning code. What does the master plan do that these other documents don't? So I'm going to start on the left here with what a comprehensive plan is. So your comprehensive plan is one required by the state. Every city and county has to have one, and it sets the long-term policy direction for the city over a period typically 20 to 30 years. It has goals, objectives, and policies that provide direction for everything from future land use, housing, transportation, public infrastructure and utilities, and the conservation and protection of natural resources, as well as a coastal management element since you all are a beach community. And the comprehensive plan is a legally binding document. So the goals, objectives, and policies that are put into the comprehensive plan, any other city planning document or actions by the city must be consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies in the comprehensive plan per state law. Now I'm going to jump to the right-hand side before I land back in the middle to talk about the master plan. So on the other side, where the comprehensive plan is very broad, we have more specific standards in the zoning code or the land development regulations. So your zoning code or your land development regulations is really where you get into the specifics on the design of buildings, how buildings are placed on a property, the types of activities that can occur in those buildings, such as commercial areas versus residential areas, and then also how and when infrastructure must be provided to support any new development that comes to the city. And your zoning code is also a legally binding document. Anyone who wants to make a substantial renovation or build something new must follow the standards that are within the zoning code. So landing somewhere in the middle, we have our master plan, which is the topic of this workshop. And the master plan is really an action-oriented and project-based plan with detailed recommendations and strategies for how the city can actually accomplish the goals, objectives, and the broader vision that's really laid out by the comprehensive plan. So at the end of this process, the idea is for the master plan to serve as a blueprint for not just future development, but also future public improvements, projects that might have dedicated funding in the city budget to accomplish some of the things that you all want to see accomplished in your city. I do want to note that the master plan would not be a legally binding document unless commission decided to formally adopt it. So just to kind of recap, what the master plan can do is it's going to identify projects and initiatives that will help the city adapt to future conditions over time in a very broad sense. It will get into some specifics on design guidelines for specific areas to achieve a desired look or feel, which is one of the things we want to hear from you all today. Design guidelines could potentially enhance walkability or maybe promote sustainability. So those are the types of things we want to hear from you on what you'd like to see. And then it will also have a strategic approach, a phased implementation plan for city staff and elected officials to kind of follow, to guide decision making so that any new development or projects that come in are really speaking to the goals that you all set forth during this process. What the master plan is not going to do, it does not set those broad long-term goals that the comprehensive plan sets. It's not going to replace the comprehensive plan or the zoning code. Developers won't be required to follow the design standards that are recommended in the plan unless they're adopted into the zoning code. And it also is not going to require city officials to make any policy changes or budgetary decisions unless they decide to do so at your behest. So I'm going to pass it back to Hannah to kind of go over the visioning exercise.
Yeah, so we're going to go through a series of questions with you tonight relating to these categories that Nicole mentioned earlier. So we're really looking for any feedback you might have, any great ideas or anything that might be challenging you or something you would like to see change within the city relating to these ideas. So we'll go through each of these question categories together. So it'll be about these 5 categories, and we're going to get started with the visioning questions right now. So if you do have your comment card, you are welcome to write on that, but we want you to talk amongst yourselves as a table, maybe nominate a spokesperson for your table. Otherwise, we will choose someone for you. So we just kind of want to get your all's overall vision, kind of the key themes that you're seeing at your table, or maybe there's one really good idea that you really like and you want to make sure we talk about. So we're going to share table by table after a few minutes, and then we're going to take notes so that way we have these for us as we go to make our initial recommendations and goals. Does everyone have a paper? Is everyone ready? Okay. All right, so we're going to go through these 3 questions at once, just in the interest of time. We don't want to keep you here all night. We certainly could. We have more than enough questions, and we could talk all night long about this. So we're going to start off with these 3 questions. So if you all kind of want to talk about these, we have facilitators at your table who can kind of help guide you. So we'll report back on kind of the key themes for each of these questions in 5 minutes. Does that sound good? 5 minutes, and we'll time it. So the first question is, today, how would you describe Madeira Beach? What's one key word or phrase that comes to mind? The second question is, what do you like about Madeira Beach? What places and characteristics of your city are important to you that you want to maintain or see more of? And what would you change, or what do you want to see more of in the city?
We've done it once and it went well, but yeah, very nice. Like, so we actually have a timer for this clock. So I
Well, up until the June, that was for that.
Oh, you got your mic. Okay.
I love all the conversations that we're hearing, but we're going to share out now. That way we can hear from some of the other tables and groups that you didn't get a chance to. So we are going to share out. I will ask that each table maybe has a few spokespeople or maybe just one, and then we'll move on to the next set of questions. So can we have someone describe? Excellent. Okay. So first question. How would you describe Madeira Beach today? And I'm just going to go ahead and pick on a table to start. Let's go over here. How would you describe Madeira Beach today?
So, oh, it comes up like this? Oh, wow, that's cool.
Really cool.
So I think one of the words was discombobulated, and I think it's kind of just feels a little, the city feels a little disconnected, like as you go through it, like nothing really talks to one another. And then, and kind of spinning off of that would be identity, like having an actual identity. I kind of mentioned it's, it's fairly transient. We have obviously our local residents and everyone here, but sometimes it feels like it's just a lot of in and out compared to some of our neighboring beach towns. And then we got into the topic of like more resilient infrastructure and some of those things. So.
Okay, let's hear from another table. What do we think of Madeira Beach today? Go ahead.
So we started off with paradise because, we live or work here, and I think everyone loves
Maybe
it.
just speak
But
into the mic if you could.
we started off with paradise as sort of the central theme. We live here, work here, have businesses here for a reason, because we want to be here. But we had a very similar theme come up to the table that just spoke, that, it's the town is transitioning and evolving. It's not really connected. So you have all these different, whether it's the construction or the nature of an area, and they're not really tied together to give a good sense of cohesion.
Anyone else have anything different than what we've heard? Go ahead. We have one right here.
There you go.
I can tell that. Thank you. Well, we went so far as to say is that Madeira Beach is having a midlife crisis. It doesn't know, it needs to go somewhere, but it doesn't know which way to go.
I like that. All right, so I think I'm going to move. Does anyone have anything else on this question for the betterment of the group? Anything from this table? I don't think anyone from this table spoke.
I'm going to talk because nobody else volunteered to. I think we're overbuilt. We have completely lost a small beach town atmosphere that we had, that we all cherished. I think we need to slow down, and we need to not, excuse my term, kiss tourists' ass all the time. Let's think about the residents and the people that live here, and not always think about the tourist and the money that they bring in. We pay enough high taxes.
All right, thank you. We are going to move on to the second question, which is, what do you...
And one more.
Oh, sorry, one more, sorry. Go ahead.
We just found it interesting. We had a debate here at the very end of the conversation that, we live in a town where the bridges go up. And some people, that's a wonderful thing to say. We live in a town where the bridges go up. Where others, it was a distraction and it was a delay in their life. So, you know, it's a mindset. And, you know, the table pretty much was in the whole transition phase of, you know, redevelopment, trying to re-identify ourselves. But I just thought that Bridges comment was worth commenting on.
So the next question, what do we like about Madeira Beach? What places and characteristics of the city are important to you? We already heard kind of that small town beach feel is one of the things that I heard some people like. What other things do you like about the city? The bridges. Well, yeah, the bridges. Well, some people like the bridges. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
For our table, the number one thing that came up is walkability.
Okay.
So that ability, whether it's going to a restaurant, the grocery store, out for entertainment, or just to go out and walk. But I'm sorry, I have to go to question number 3 to caveat what I'm saying. So also then relative to that being such an important part came up safety concerns, the need to have wider sidewalks where we can, to have the sidewalks, you know, offset. I think probably Candy Kitchen is one of the worst examples of a problem area where some child or someone else is going to get hurt. So being able to get those wider, even level sidewalks to really promote that we're a walkable community from literally one end to the next if you're up for it.
Excellent. What else? I can't believe I haven't heard the beach yet. Is it too obvious?
No.
Yeah. What was it? Sorry? Here, I'm going to hand you my mic so you can, no, so everyone can.
The improvements are wonderful.
Can you give an example of one of the improvements?
The sea grass that they're growing and the dunes and the walking towards there is absolutely amazing. Very nice.
The dune restoration, the beach renourishment, very nice. What
Okay.
else? What else do we like about Madeira Beach?
I love Boca Ciega Bay and the Gulf of Mexico, but it's silty, it's mucky, it needs more seagrass, and it needs better tidal flow. I also hate it when it floods my house, as it did 3 times in the last 3 years and 2 times in the last year. The city really needs to think about flooding and helping us residents that get flooded all the time.
Yeah. So maybe let's move on to number 3, because that sounds like something that you'd want to see. Oh, sorry. Are we still at number 2? We'll do one. Go ahead.
I used to love going to the beach. As you can see that I'm a senior citizen, I'm an above knee amputee. And I was thrilled when you guys got the Moby mat there because I was able to independently go on the Moby mat and there was a wing. And I think that wing is down at Caddy's now. That wing needs to come back because I can't enjoy Madeira Beach like I used to. I've lived here since 1999. When I was able-bodied, I used to ride my bicycle up and down the beach. And then I was a very depressed individual because I could not take advantage of the beach anymore. And now that the Moby mat now it's up a hill, which I realize we got some sand and things from the hurricane last year, but I've been calling, I've been emailing, I've been being ignored. And that's the reason that I'm here this evening. That Moby mat that was gifted to Madeira Beach needs to be accessible to amputees like me. I can't go to the beach and watch a sunset by myself anymore.
So more accessibility and...
Right,
Yeah.
and we had it. But for some reason, the wing to the Moby mat is at Caddy's, and that is a real bone to pick with me. Because I want my beach back.
Thank you for sharing. We're recording.
Well, that's the
this.
second Moby mat at Caddy's. We have 2 of them now, and we're
Okay.
waiting for the wing to come in, and we're gonna restore the wing, but we had to wait for the sand dunes to go down. Those were the sand dune restoration because of a dahlia, and so hopefully it'll be up in the next month.
Very good. Thank you.
And real quick, getting back to question number 2, we
Sure.
didn't really cover that all that well. Oh, thank you. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Eddie McGeehan, Commissioner, District 3. I think we have a great showing tonight. All the residents come in here and give their opinions, you know. I think it's great for the city. But number two, getting back to what do you like about Madeira Beach? Don't forget that we're very family friendly. The events that we have, you know, Final Friday. The kids just love, you remember Christmas time when the fire trucks, our fire trucks, came through John's Pass with the Santa Claus, and the city organized these events for our families here. Sometimes we have to think about some of the positive things that the city does. Old Salt fishing tournaments, the concerts in the park. Those are the things that I believe a majority would like to see. And also, yeah, definitely John's Pass. Definitely.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, so anything else on number 2? Otherwise, we're going to move on to what would you change or what do you want to see more of? So we already heard safety, wider sidewalks, other improvements to make sure that the city continues to be walkable and be even safer to walk around, accessibility to the beach. I heard flood mitigation is something that folks would like to see. What else?
Anyone over here?
Speeding. Speeding, traffic control is what was said. Hold on one second. You've got the mic right there. There you go.
The other thing we didn't mention beside the beach is the water. And I'm across the canal here. I think we could make, even though I understand that the county has jurisdiction and there's certain jurisdictional problems with whose water we're in and who we're adjacent to, but it would seem to me that it would be nice if we could make more use of the water, whether it be attracting perhaps a higher level of boaters into the city, not necessarily just fishing, but also people who have sailboats and power boats and yachts who might be able to contribute to not only the viability of the city, but also contribute monetarily to it. I don't see that here.
Are you thinking of a place where you have seen that?
Well, we've traveled all over the world, and in the Caribbean, there's huge developments that are attracting seasonal yachters and boat peoples certain times of the year with beautiful amenities. I've been in the marina maybe a few times. That thing really needs a good look-see in terms of redeveloping it. And also the other problem is, and I know a lot of people have gripes with liveaboards, and I understand that's been an issue through the last 10 years I've been here, but why don't we consider charging liveaboards for services, have a mobile pump out station that can go around and encourage perhaps a little more dockage so that we can charge for boaters who want to use the water and enjoy the water. And I'm not limiting it to fishermen because I'm not a fisherman, but this is a water-orientated community, and it should be encouraged and expanded. The only other thing I'm going to say, and then I'll shut up. I was on the Planning Commission 2 or 3 administrations ago. And as I said to the acting mayor, or permanent mayor, hopefully, we did nothing with the master plan that was in place. In fact, it had to be looked for in the old city hall to even find out where it was. But the dilemma for you as planners and building officials is we have really basically an infill community here. It's not as if we have huge swaths of public-owned or city-owned land that we can say, hey, we're going to do this. So how do you achieve a master plan with so much individual ownership? And the other thing is an architectural review board, which I mentioned 7 years ago when I was on the Planning Commission. None of this makes sense to me. None of it. People's impression of our city is when they drive through it or walk through it. Ordinances about height, floor area ratio, setbacks, they're the professionals' responsibility. But in terms of the public and homeowners and even business owners, the way the city looks is important. And I see just a mishmash up and down Gulf Boulevard. Some of it's mediocre, some of it's bad, some of it not so good. So, and even in the residential areas, for those of us who have residences, I think there should be an architectural review board or a community review board that can look at projects, even if it's a humble 2-story or 3-story house, and have enough people on the board of diverse backgrounds who can look at it and come and have that be a consideration in the permit process. That's it.
Excellent.
think I
Thank you
said
for sharing. I
more
think we
than-
had a comment here. I'm just going to hand you out my microphone.
We got a little tight on time at the end there, 5 minutes, but I'd like to throw out crosswalks. From the crosswalk at Madeira Beach access to 150th Street, there's none in between there. It's pushing half a mile. So I know it has to do with demand, but they did change the bank to parking area. I'm not sure what it's going to turn into, but just I could throw that out there for accessibility.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Did you want to start? Okay. Excellent. All right.
Don't shoot me. As I look around this room, I see that the majority of people in here are at least 55 and older. Would you say that's not true? Okay. We need more young people because they're the vision of the city. You need them on your planning committee. You need to encourage them. You need to find out how they feel because it's the city that they're going to be growing old in. And I think that's an important aspect of your planning.
Thank you very much for sharing.
This is the trouble table, incidentally.
I think we're going to take a few more on this, and then we're going to finish the rest of these questions because we'll have more opportunities to talk about all of these things with the second set. So we're going to take one comment from here and then one comment from here. And I promise there will be more opportunities to speak on the second set of questions. So I don't know who is first. So I'll have you first, and then thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is John. I'm a resident of Madeira Beach, and thank you for setting this up and running this for us. This is awesome. Really appreciate it. I see some mentions up here of safety and beach access. One issue we have around here is a lot of folks have dogs, and there's no dog access to the beach. And I understand that. People bring their dogs and they poop on the beach and they make a mess. But we need a place for the dogs to go that's safe and good for them and their owners. Our dog park here has been kicked around. It's kind of like the redheaded stepchild of the beach here. People talk about doing things there. Things weren't done. They were done, but it's not done right. When people come into town, they see this awesome rock park over here, right? They see this $5 million facility, beautiful. But the dog park's like a $2 dog park. It's an eyesore. It doesn't work. We're there every morning. We have a fairly large amount of residents with the puppies that go there. We spend time there. It's a social place to gather and get information about the city and meet people. I moved here from Virginia. I didn't know anybody. I went to the dog park and met all my new friends there. So dog park's a great place to meet folks, to socialize, to have a safe place to hang out. I think it needs to be looked at as with a fine focus. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing.
Power line undergrounding in the residential areas.
Excellent.
And one of the residents, and we would go after grants on that, so it wouldn't be just residential. And then the marina, I do agree with the gentleman. Right now, it has an industrial look. It's one of the first things you see when we come into the community. There's going to be a new hotel built out just next to it. There's going to be a lot of foot traffic between there and the beach. I think that the marina could be more open and inviting and useful. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. So I did say that those would be our last two, so I have to stick to it, otherwise you know how it goes. Bringing the middle school teacher in me out. I was a middle school teacher before this, so I will try to run a tight ship. We are going to move on to the second set of questions, and I promise that we will have some new speakers share out for this second set. So even if you didn't get to share exactly what you wanted to, I'm sure you can find a way to work it in to this next set of questions. It sounded like discussions were going really well. I did notice that some tables were having trouble hearing on the other end, so I'm just going to make a suggestion that maybe we split the tables half and half if that was difficult for you to hear people on the other end. We'll kind of have, say, a small group here and a small group there. You know, you all can figure that out amongst yourselves. But our second set of questions is now really looking into the future. So I know this is a big question. What is your vision for the future of Madeira Beach? Try to put it in just a few words or phrases. And then what excites you about the future? What opportunities do you see for your city? And also what concerns you? What challenges do you think you'll be facing in the next 5, 10, 15 years? And then finally, which of the master plan topics on your handout are your top priority and why? I know it's really hard to pick just one, but we want to encourage you to pick just one and tell us why. So I think we're going to give a little bit more time for these three since discussion went so well. So maybe 7 minutes to talk through these three? An extra 7.5. Yeah, we'll do a check-in at 5. Okay, and go. All right, I think we are going to bring it up to the front. So we're going to start sharing out again. I do just want to mention, we are going to read every single one of these comment cards that we receive tonight. So even if you don't get to share out one of your ideas, or maybe you're hearing things that you actually don't agree with, please, please, please fill out your comment card with your ideas for improvements and your vision. We will read every single one, and everyone's thoughts will be reflected in the final document, So please turn these in before you go today. Yes? So there will be an online survey that rolls out after this event that will have similar questions. And there also is an interactive map online today on the project website that you can go to, and you can actually click on specific sites within the city and put in specific improvements you want to see. For example, I heard over here there's a particular intersection that has some issues. So there's an interactive map online where you can record comments, and then there will be an online survey coming out right after this workshop that will be pushed out on social media. And of course, you can also email the planning group here at the city in the meantime. But if you can fill these out today, we would love that. And I'm going to stop talking now. That way you all have more time to talk. So what is your vision for the future of Madeira Beach? And I would love to hear from someone who did not speak in the first round of questions. So who's going to kick us off? What is your vision? Got one?
I think we need to look at the infrastructure of this place. I mean, I'm looking at the roads, I look at the power, I look at the things that's happening here. So I just think we need to improve. If you're going to give permits out to do things, then you got to improve the area that you got to travel. The blacktop roads, the schools, the sidewalks. Nobody said anything about overhead sidewalks. At your busy areas like John's Pass, you have parking on the one side, but you got to cross the street to get over to the shops. So nobody said anything like that to cut down on people getting hit. You're not going to stop stupidity. They're going to run across the street anyway. But things like that, I think we need to look at a lot of different things. And the telephone poles with the wires hanging down, you got cable companies won't touch them because it's Comcast, it's Spectrum. It's like, can you just cut the lines off? Nope, can't touch them. Power guys comes out talking about the underground electric. So he says, you live on the beach. It's like, yeah. He said, when it floods, I can't do anything about it because it's underwater. It's salt water. So it's a lot of different things. I think we should do like a pilot plan on one area, see how it goes first, before we change everything in Madeira Beach. Just like, hey, let's try this one area, see if this is going to work, see how the people that pay the taxes here respond to those changes, and then move forward on that way.
Excellent. We love pilot projects. Great suggestion. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a resident of Madeira Beach, specifically the Johns Pass area. And what I'd like to see is more things, a few things. More revenue, which there was a subject brought up a while back about at Rock Park rather than having, because it's not really bringing up a whole lot of revenue for us. I'm thinking the idea of having a convention center there, multi-story building that would really bring in a lot of people. They would fill up the hotels. They would, there'd be additional jobs for people, local residents if they're looking for employment. I mean, there's all kinds of things that that property can be utilized for in a better way. And it seems like this subject has been brought up on many occasions, but it's been ignored or for one reason or another, and I don't know what that might be. At another time, there was when they were building this complex and there was a whole thing about, oh, there's going to be a huge recreational facility for the residents of Madeira Beach. Well, they kept making it smaller and smaller and smaller, and now, you know, hey, I love the fire department, I know what they do, and I appreciate all of their work, but now it's kind of like a small gym for the firemen. So I really think that this city could use a nice recreational facility for the residents. Like, you know, St. Pete has it, Treasure Island has it. I mean, there's so many beautiful facilities. Rock Park, hey, I like it. I've attended a few of the functions over there, but it's not, I really don't think it's doing what it should be doing, that particular piece of property. I mean, I've been a realtor for 38 years, and they're just not really utilizing it to its potential.
Sounds like you see an opportunity, some untapped potential there that can potentially generate revenue, more recreational opportunities.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay.
What else? Do we have a, here? Go ahead. Raise your hand.
Based on those comments, I mean, I want to make the plug for green space. I value green space, value the environment. We talked to, someone mentioned it, there are a lot of younger families that are beginning to come into Madeira Beach, and green space and the safety, I think, is important, as well as our table talked about balance. You know, we are a community that attracts tourists, so we need to figure out how can we balance tourism with the residents. I mean, I'd love for it to just be the residents, but that's not a reality, so we need to balance it. And again, if we care about green space and the environment, we need to find ways to be able to educate the tourists to help respect Madeira Beach, whether that's the sea turtles, it's when you're filling up at the marina that you're not spilling your gas into the water, which then comes over to my house. All of those kinds of things we need to do, and that is an area where you know, development that has more modern hotels and that sort of thing could offer a venue to help make sure that those people who come in are being educated in some way. I've said enough.
Great suggestion.
No, I just want to add on to what we just talked about here. When we have to balance tourism and recreation, there's what, 3.8 million tourists and 4,000 of us, so we're outnumbered. But we've got to find that blend so we can win that balance. But the educational, we were talking about the sea turtles and leaving holes and things like that. I don't think anybody does that intentionally, right? If they knew, they wouldn't do it. So it falls back on education to teach them. The challenge, I think, what we could do better at is tourism belongs where tourism belongs, right? And we all have zoning. And I think if you have just tourists where they're supposed to be, you know where they are, you can educate them. The challenge is I think we can be way stronger on enforcement, on codes. And if you want residential to be residential, then stop the illegal rentals in the neighborhoods that are allowed 3 to 6 months only. Right? When you just turn your head and let somebody VRBO out, that's when you get the minivan full of 14 people in secret that you don't know they're there and you can't enforce it. So you take areas that have done it well. I'll give you an extreme example. I've got friends of mine who have properties out in Hawaii. Do you know what happens if you illegally rent a house in Hawaii?
You forfeit your house.
It's $10,000 a night fine. How many times do you do that? Maybe once.
Yeah.
But no, what's it here? Please don't. Right, so those are the type of things we can get stronger at and then enforce the codes and actually make it prettier, right? Xeriscaping doesn't mean no landscaping, right? It doesn't mean leave your weeds. It means Florida friendly. Like, we could do better to make the residential areas look better and be residential, and then enhance the tourist areas and make them really nice. There'll be nice resorts that we can educate, and the residential areas will be respectfully residential. So I think we could be better at that.
Anything from this table over here? We've been awfully quiet this round. As the debate has devolved now into... Well, let's bridge the gap. Let's, just because you all talked about bridges before. So let's talk about opportunities. What excites you about the future of Madeira Beach? Someone from this table.
I would say
And then we'll
more-
move on.
I would say, once again, Rock Park, utilizing that area that we love so much, and keep it that way, but also we could have, in the future, more events, more, concerts or
Those revenue generating, kind of
revenue
ticketed
generating.
events.
Yeah, more fishing tournaments.
But better marketing.
Kingfish tournament.
And
more comprehensive marketing, because nobody knows what's your resident,
Can you repeat that?
More comprehensive marketing. No one knows that we're here.
Oh, so some branding, like
Branding,
signage,
advertising, marketing.
advertising.
Visit St. Pete Clearwater does some of that. The city itself started funding some for marketing and advertising in the last couple of years. So we're going to look to do more to market specifically Madeira Beach. Come to our sand, our lovely 2 miles of wide and a smile wide, 2 miles long and a smile wide, as well as come to obviously our Rock Park and come to Johns Pass Village and Boardwalk. So more marketing, advertising, that's a tremendous opportunity.
And I think that touches on what was said as one of our first comments about, having that cohesive community identity where people really know, oh, I'm in Madeira Beach now. So excellent suggestion. Thank you. See, I knew this table had ideas.
Well, that's the ongoing debate. Do you bring, what is enough tourism? When is it popular? When is, you have the debate and always have.
Mm-hmm.
You want the residential town that has tourism, or do you want a tourist town that has residents?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a balance there somewhere, and what's that magic number? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Do you keep them concentrated, or you keep your tourism concentrated in areas, activity zone, Johns Pass Village, and right here, where the beach makers go in, now, not to give you a plug, but, the new condos and hotels and the new hotel on 150th up here by the bridge, you concentrate that tourism in these areas where there's swim zones and it's just that, it's more concentrated. And the noises in certain areas or any of those items that really are complaints for the residents are in a certain area.
Mm-hmm. So that theme of balance again. Go ahead.
As a young mom with probably 6 other families that moved into 140th, more playgrounds, and being able to trust our kids to go to the sandbar without boats and jet skis going right behind them, splashing water up all on them, and being able to be like, hey, go find the dead sand dollars, have fun, go to the park down the street. I think there is a difference of the generations moving in. Down West Parsley where we live, probably 10 houses are up for sale, so being able to say, hey, there's more kids coming into the neighborhood. I just have a 1-year-old, she turned 1 yesterday, so
Congrats.
instead of closing off the street because cars are going 40 miles down the road, being able to be like, hey, our neighbors aren't going to drive down the road going 40 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes a huge difference of like the different generations. I grew up on the island of Guam. I know island lifestyle. I get it. But moving to Florida and being able to be comfortable with our neighbors, and KJ's my neighbor. We have plenty of neighbors we're super close with. They are our Florida family. Chuck's right down the road. Like, we have a good community. It's so beautiful, but being able to have the playgrounds down the road and being able to raise our kids together so that they have a generation that sits at these meetings years from now and enjoying all of that, I think that would make a huge difference in tourism versus community people.
Thank you for sharing. I don't know if you were here when you heard one of the comments that the vision for one of the folks here today said their vision is to hear from more of the younger families that are moving in, since really the future is yours and your children. So thank you for sharing your comments. Go ahead.
Development and such as, I don't know if anybody really realizes Bubba Gump's is in a parking garage. So that whole structure is a parking garage. They have a hotel. They have restaurants. They have smoke shops. They have all different kinds of activities, which generates lots and lots of money. And that's something that we are looking for, I'd say definitely as a future of development and using mixed usages in those developments. And looking at it, you would never know it was a parking garage unless you go into the south side. So that's some of the things about development that would be definitely visionary. And that's something that I would definitely like to see the future of Madeira Beach doing.
Let's get some comments over from this side of the room. Opportunities, challenges, what do you want to see for the future of Madeira Beach?
Definitely control the flooding. Okay, and did they adopt the 2002 master plan? Because part of that master plan was undergrounding utilities. I didn't get flooded in Irma, but I lost power for 9 days. It was no fun. You know, got flooded in Eta, Adelia last December. I would like to see them take care of that. I'd also like to see the bridges, especially the one on Tom Stewart Causeway. This man here wants to see more sailboats. More sailboats mean more bridge openings. More bridge openings mean more problems. I had kids that went to Madeira Beach Elementary and Middle. Every day at 2 o'clock, there was a sailboat coming from this canal or the next canal up called Lupita. And he opened the bridge at 2:30 while everybody's trying to pick up their kids from school. You know, I want to see these bridges go higher. I want 2 of them. We have where the old bridge was. We still have that access. And because I'm 71 years old, what happens when I need an ambulance and a sailboat wants to go under the bridge?
I would just like to say I've heard about undergrounding utilities several times. The city is working very diligently at underground power. The city is not your issue. It is Duke Power that is the issue. The current underground project that we have going, the reason it's not complete is not because we don't want it to be. It is because of Duke Energy. So they are really the issue. We all want to do that just like everyone here does. I don't think there's anyone in the city that does not want underground power, but the struggle isn't here. It is the legislature needs to let us fire Duke Power and get rid of them. I don't know, but they are the problem. They are slow. So just so everyone knows that, it's not the city not wanting it, it is Duke Energy.
Okay, any other opportunities, challenges that we want to share right now before I ask about our top priorities for the plan? Looks like we have one over here.
One more. I keep going back to transportation at this table. I just think that, and it goes back to kids and family-oriented and resident access and those things. Like we may not be able to change Gulf Boulevard. You know, it's basically a drag strip. It's crazy. But, you know, if there's ways that we can introduce more of that placemaking, beautification, kind of that defensive style of transportation vision that we see in some other places where you naturally slow down a little bit and you make it a little bit safer of a place to walk. And then on top of that, right, like if you do go walk, if you don't skip Gulf Boulevard and go to the beach like everyone should, but if you walk Gulf Boulevard, it is like a loud desert. It is just so brutal walking down Gulf Boulevard and just getting past 40 miles an hour. You know, it's just, I think it really takes away from a lot of the things that we want this place to feel like. And that's part of that connectedness. It's kind of like the central artery that kind of needs to change. And I think opportunities that I wrote down to, tapping into and focusing on our natural resources. Obviously, we need to make sure we're protecting those things. That's why we all live here. I think there's a lot of things you can do, ecologically, environmentally, different things you can kind of control to help improve our waterways and how they feel and look, and make people want to spend time in them. And then going back to someone mentioned, like, I think you asked, what excites you about the future, and I don't think anybody had an answer. And
I wasn't going to dwell on that.
Well,
but.
it was a little quiet. But honestly, it's like, we've lived here for 5 years, and we just bought a place, and we want to stay here. And I think everyone in here knows what that feeling's like and like why you want to be here. But when you have this big question of like, what is the future? Really, we've been thinking about going to the beach and, enjoying their time outside and being here. But I think someone mentioned, like, we're kind of at this point where we have an opportunity to figure out where that's going, where we want to grow up, but we don't know where we want to go. And I think that's our biggest opportunity right now, right, is doing this and participating in this, because we did not have a good answer to question number 5. So, but family-oriented would be my answer to that question. So, anyway.
Thank you.
Too much.
No, that was great. Thank you very much. Oh, here, I'm going to give you my microphone. Okay. Oh, that's fine.
One of the things we have going for us is that there's a lot of other beach communities. And we can look at Clearwater, and we can look at Indian Rocks Beach, and we can look at Sarasota, and we can all those other places, and we can say, what did they do wrong? What did they do right? And, old corporate speak was best practices. But I think we can learn a lot from what's worked and what hasn't, and try to incorporate those things into our future planning. I can give you an example of something that doesn't work, like in Clearwater, it's 10, 12, 15-story condos. It's like a wall of windows. You wouldn't even know there was an ocean there if it didn't say so on your map. So, I'm pretty sure everybody in Madeira Beach doesn't want that. But, what's the happy medium? So.
No, we didn't adopt anything near what they have. So you can't build anything as large as that. We just don't allow it, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Especially the residential density, because we especially can't touch that because of evacuations, and we want to make sure everyone could safely evacuate during a hurricane. So no additional residential density out here.
So I think at this point in time, since we're getting close to the end and we want to be respectful of everybody's evening, maybe we can all catch a beautiful sunset tonight. We are going to have this same kind of visioning exercise put into an online survey format that will be pushed out over social media and also posted to the project website. But again, we do encourage you to take these last few minutes to fill out your comment card and write any other thoughts that you had that you didn't get a chance to share here tonight. And just once again, I want to say thank you so much. This is an amazing turnout for the first community workshop for this project that's just starting. So it's really exciting for us as the project team to see how this is going to evolve over time. So thank you all very much. Staff is still here walking around. Robin, did you have
Yes,
something?
and if anyone has any additional questions, comments of Hannah and her staff or city staff, please, we will hang around probably for about another 3 or 4 hours, but so just keep that in mind.
I don't know, I'm going to go watch sunset.
I've heard that after sunset, I've heard that the mayor and commissioners are going to be here. They're going to pull an all-nighter. I'm just kidding. So, but again, thank you all so much for coming out. This is for all of you. Again, we will take all of this data, as was explained, and you will see a lot more information, a lot more data. So please stay connected, write, text, email, let us know. And we are here for all of you. And please take some food. The project website at madeirabeachfl.gov, and we will put it on the homepage, a link directly to it. So thank you again all for coming out.